I'm Dwight Young, director, founder of Block Ministries. And I want to give a little bit of history of Horses on the Hill. In 2015 was when the project of Horses on the Hill started, but much before that, obviously I grew up in Kentucky doing farming, and we had horses all my life. As we started our own family and lived in West Harrison, we have horses. Our kids were raised up with horses. We used them quite a bit with the ministry in the very beginning. We would bring kids and students out on a regular basis to either camp out at our property, to be around the horses, to learn how to care for horses, to interact with horses, to build trust. And the idea of equine therapy kind of came along after we all moved into the city and made that part of the ministry, that as missionaries we would live and work in Price Hill. So a prayer of ours was really, someday God, bring this back so that we can do it in the city. In 2015, as I stated earlier, is when we first approached the city on this piece of property. It's a dead-end street. It's a 7.5 acre piece of property that had a school built on it, and we knew that had been sitting there for over a decade and nobody using it, other than honestly a lot of homeless folks and a lot of dumping ground.
We had a lot of issues with prostitution, a couple of shootings down here. There's been a lot of conversation with our neighbors about bringing something good to the end of the street. And I think ever since coming to Ross, we have been able to establish a standard, but also we're able to bring relationships.
My name is Jean Kane, and I've lived here for 50 years. I think it'll be really nice. It's changed a lot. I mean, the neighbors have changed, and it's just so neat to have them do this.
So we approached the city, asked for it, and eventually it just fell into our lap to say, if you guys want it, you can have it. So in 2018, we're asked to come and work with Xavier's MBA department and a class that they were doing. The Horses on the Hill became a project. We had 6 students that worked a whole semester on literally just surveying the whole United States, who had an inner city work, who did stables, who did equine therapy, what's best practices, how do you pay for it, how do you build it. By the end of that semester, we had a budget, a business plan, best practices, everything we could come up. And in 2019, we started the process of drawing the building. And then 2020, we started breaking ground with the city, getting all the permits. And in 2021, we started the building project, which now we're ending up finishing phase 1. So the hope of the whole idea is obviously to bring something to an inner city that is very rare, very difficult to find.
I'm hoping that this place will be a light for our community, that each and every one of our neighbors has been very excited about this project and what it could bring their families, as well as the rest of our community.
Hopefully we'll see a lot of changes, and a lot of people want to take more care of their property. And
I'm beaming all over myself because it's just going to be so neat, and kids are going to love it. My neighbors here, they're just so excited about it too.
oh, Eric and Charlie are great.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for a better neighbor.
I'd like to share a little bit about Eric, who's one of our staff guys, also a son-in-law. When they met my daughter and they got married and lived here in the city and began to work some with ministry, he never really thought that that would be an option for him, even though his heart was really into the horses and how can I do ministry with that someday.
I remember about 4 years ago, we had a conversation about Horses on the Hill, and my initial thought was, that's crazy and that will never happen. Through conversations with Dwight, we kind of came to a place where we wanted to push for it, and he already had the groundwork involved with that, and he brought me along this journey based off of my experience and where I've been in my life.
So Eric has a lot of history with caretaking and handling horses.
And I didn't start pursuing that until I was in high school, but once I started, I got into rodeo. I worked on a 40-acre ranch in Idaho as a hired hand and worked with 5 different horses. It was a center for people who were coming off of missionary trips. They needed respite. I provide rides for them in the mountains of Idaho. That was kind of where the passion began, where ministry and horses and cowboying and all that kind of crossed.
All the stuff that we really needed, Eric kind of grew up with and had a passion for. So living and working inside the urban core of Cincinnati and having 10 acres in your backyard that you can all of a sudden look out and there's a horse barn that you get to be the management for, that's been a great match for us. And really a prayer answered for him and his heart, that the Lord is giving him kind of the desire of his heart to do this kind of thing in the inner city.
Horses have always been something that I've admired and wanted to involve with people, and this is a perfect opportunity for that.
Overall, the big idea for us is evangelism and to share Jesus' love to a neighborhood, and this gives us a gateway to touch a lot more lives and to do it in a way that brings help in a way that we haven't done before, and hope to a neighborhood that is struggling with trauma, number one, and a lot of other issues in life, as we know about poverty and culture. And so we're excited about what that's going to be and how it's going to help, and that's kind of the history of how we got there.